Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Indy's Trusted Servant Show on InspireSmall.biz. What's Indy's Trusted Servant? Well, that's me, Danny O'Malia. I do customer service training and keynote speaking about customer service and really more about organizational culture. The culture drives the service. Where did I learn all about that? Well, back in the O'Malia Food Market days. If you've been around Indianapolis a while, you know we gave pretty good service. But even before that, when I was about 9 and 10, when my dad, the late Joe O'Malia, owned a little grocery store in Broad Ripple, where the Vanguard bar is now. It had one cash register and about 5 or 6 employees, and one was a 9 or 10-year-old kid. And he eventually lost that store, and 10 years later, he came back and successfully launched O'Malia Food Markets with 9 stores and 950 employees and a warehouse in a building where my guest has her wonderful not-for-profit up in Noblesville. And one of the things he taught me by doing all of that, lost the store, came back 10 years later, successfully launched a $69 million business, was never, ever, ever give up. So what's the Indy's Trusted Servant Show? Oh, if you're interested in my customer service trainings or keynotes, well, give me a call at 317-413-9062. What's the Indy's Trusted Servant Show on InspireSmall.biz? I like to describe it as lively local small biz and community talk where you can feel the pulse of Indy, and I might say, and the environs of Indy, because we're talking Hamilton County mostly here today. My guest is Yolanda Kincaid of Janus Developmental on State Road 32 in Noblesville, in a building that was the O'Malia Food Markets warehouse and offices from about 1974 to 1993. I went to work every day for 18 years at that location. So they do wonderful work with handicapped people in Hamilton County, and we're going to find out more about that. Yolanda, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Well, it's great to have you. I believe I interviewed you or somebody from Janus on my radio show. Was it you or someone else?
Yeah, it was. I think
it was you.
Jerry, our development person.
And it was a long time ago.
Yeah.
But it's great to have you back. Tell the folks about Yolanda first.
Sure.
Give them a little background and how you got to Janus.
Yep. So born and raised in Indiana. I'm from northern Indiana originally.
Whereabouts?
So in Elkhart County, a little town called Middlebury. So kind of from that particular area.
Where'd you go to high school?
Northridge High School.
Northridge High School.
Familiar with that?
What's their nickname?
Northridge Raiders.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bing, I gotta know all these nicknames.
So,
that's one of my
green
hobbies.
And yellow, so I remember
Okay.
the track outfit well. So born and raised in that area, went to undergrad at Indiana State University. So I stayed in that.
What'd you major in?
Psychology and criminology.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So I had thoughts and aspirations, I think, as a teenager of working somehow in the federal prison area. But until I went to a federal prison and decided that's not where I would like to work. So,
Okay. Did you visit the prison near Terre Haute?
I did.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so,
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So undergrad there and continued to work at an agency in Vigo County for the better part of a decade. And then from there went back up north. That's where my family and everyone is at. And so worked for an agency that supports exclusively people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And had worked for a couple of different agencies since that particular time. I think it's a total of 5 agencies that I've worked for.
Oh.
Disability services. Previous to Janus, I was in Grant County in an agency in Marion, Indiana, again for the better part of 10 years as their chief operations officer. Lived in Noblesville that whole time, so had that commute up and down to
When did you settle in Noblesville?
In about 2012.
Oh,
Yep.
okay, just
So
about
it's
11 years ago.
Yeah,
Okay.
So it's been a good time. And so whenever there was the opening for the president and CEO position, I thought, well, might as well apply. Been in the field for quite some time, you know.
And when did you come to Janus?
2 years ago.
Just
Yep.
2 years ago.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So now let's go back and what about family?
Yeah.
Kids?
So, Yeah, I have one kiddo. He's 8 years old. He's active in something called Ninja Zone, as well as Cub Scouts. So I'm the den leader for the Cub Scouts there
All right.
for Pack 150 in Noblesville. So he attends really a brand new school for Hamilton Southeastern. So that's exciting for him. So and my parents are actually down this particular weekend.
They still up in northern Indiana?
They're up
Okay.
in the Goshen area now, and so they're down. My son has decided to be baptized this weekend, so so we're excited about that.
That's great.
Weekend.
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, so give us the history of Janus, and what does Janus mean?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. So in 1979, people with disabilities, as well as their families, local businesses, local funders, and just local people who want to advocate for individuals with different abilities all came together and decided that they wanted something better and more for their loved ones and neighbors with disabilities, and ended up joining Hamilton County ARC and the Tipton County ARC into one agency called Janus. And this was named after the Roman god, where if you've ever seen an image of it, there's kind of a face that faces back and then another face that faces forward.
Yes.
My understanding is that was really to kind of respect sort of where things have been in the past, but then also be looking toward the future to really improve opportunities for people with disabilities.
So I must share with you, I've probably shared this with you before, I had a Down syndrome sister-in-law. I cannot tell you how big a part of my life she was. And she lived to be 54 years old. We also and my wife served on the board at Janus, even though my sister-in-law lived in Indianapolis and went to Noble and a couple of other places. And our Barb Ash was a lady who worked for Omaya's for a long time, and she was what we called our our employee relations representative. She had two really handicapped daughters, and she was a single mom. And they went to Janus before it got to what it is now, and she served on the board too. So I'm a big believer. So you guys are on State Road 32, west of Noblesville. You guys have, I think you've added on to the building since you got there,
yes,
right? And it was a pretty big building because we had offices and a warehouse and a bakery. Yep. You guys have added more. And tell us about Janus's services now, sure. Okay? And it keeps broadening a lot. You brought cookies that the people at Janus bake. I can't wait to eat a couple of cookies on my way home.
Yeah, so there you go. So individuals we support. We're baking cookies and packaging those for a chamber event that was yesterday evening. So we provide a lot of services at Janus, as Danny was sharing. So I would say first and foremost is when possible and when it's desired by the person to get competitive community employment, we are there along that journey. From the exploration kind of phase to discovery type of phase to understand, is this really what you want to do? Like I mentioned, me in the prison, is this really what you want to do? You go, you check it out, and you can make an informed decision from there. With the resume, to preparing for an interview, what to wear, what to say, all of those processes, as well as really being there as a resource and can be there right alongside the person through that orientation process of a new job. And we check in, and sort of our goal is, as the person is getting more proficient and competent with their job, we kind of step away. So supports are kind of tapered in that particular fashion, so the person can be as successful as possible.
So you have many jobs for the handicapped right in the building.
We do have
some.
We do
talk about all of that.
Sure. Yeah. So there are, anytime that we have an opening, we certainly are exploring how this can really live with our mission. So most recently, we also operate the Capabilities Cafe, which is in the lower level of the Judicial Building there on the square in Noblesville. So our most recent hire is a gentleman by the name of Jeff. Who happens to have a disability, and so he's down at that cafe, and he's a hoot. I think maybe as a side hustle, he could be a comedian too. So just an all-around good person. Customer service is top notch, to be able to make sure that people are served well. So when it's possible to be able to get employment and to be able to employ individuals with disabilities, we absolutely do. Another opportunity that we have on site at Janus is some contract labor that we have. So if individuals just want to explore, or maybe it's their first experience with working, so maybe it could be just the process of understanding what the tasks are, being able to complete tasks at hand, following instructions. If people are there in that journey, we have multiple jobs on site, from wicking candles for a company called Linnea, who's a woman-owned business in Carmel, to we work with a company called Dialogue, and we assemble different kits for them. So I always attribute it to something like what you might get at a dental office. There's a bag that has certain things within it. So
just went to just got one of those this week.
Yep. So we do those kits for if you just adopted a dog, if you just adopted a cat, and there's a couple others if you just had a cardiac diagnosis or received a cardiac diagnosis or a diabetic diagnosis. So there's different kits that we put together for a company called Dialogue. We also work with a company called UPG, where we're applying LED lights for fish aquarium hoods. So again, it's just a variety of different options where people can get some experience and then be able to then utilize that experience when they're going into the community to be able to get jobs.
How many handicapped people actually work in the building, would you say?
So there is at least 80 people that we support that are at Janus, and of course they're receiving a variety of different supports while they're there. Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about the transportation, because as you drive by your place, you see about 30 minibuses, right?
Yep.
So you're
Yep.
going all over the place,
Yep.
bringing your clients in for the counseling and the jobs and so forth.
Yeah.
How far do you reach?
Sure. Can I share a little bit about the transportation history?
Do that, and then tell us what's the farthest away somebody could take advantage of
Absolutely.
Janus.
So when Janus became Janus, certainly one of the most significant barriers for individuals with disabilities is transportation. So Janus at one point was a couple of vans just to be able to get folks into the community, to be able to access community resources. Then that lent itself to Noblesville Public Transit. It was Noblesville Public Transit for a series of years when the county commissioners gave some seed money to say, I think the county needs this. So that's when Hamilton County Express was born.
That's what the transportation is called today, Hamilton County Express.
That's
yes.
public transit.
Okay.
And we've always been considered rural transit until last year, about June, July of 2022. That's where Hamilton County was reclassified as urban transit. So us, Hamilton County, Hendricks, Hancock, and Johnson are kind of all in this process where our population has just grown enough. So we're navigating what that looks like, along with Indigo, who kind of has the contract for all of the Donut County's public transit. Just sort of navigating how can we grow, how can we expand even more. I will share with you that with COVID and the pandemic, of course, folks were utilizing public transit less, but just last month, so the month of March of 2023, we were only 17 rides shy of March of 2019. So things are catching
back up.
They definitely rebounded.
So how many? I guess you'd call them minibuses.
Yeah.
What do you got? About 20 of them?
We have, our total fleet is 30. Of that 30, 24 are really dedicated to Hamilton County Express. And we also operate a contracted transportation service called Riverview Health Rides, which gets Riverview patients to wherever they need to go. One of the 25 locations of Riverview, 25 or 26.
Okay.
So it could be therapy, doctor's appointments, screenings, all of those things. So that fleet has
I didn't
5.
realize that.
Yeah, that fleet has 5 vehicles.
What is the outreach geographically?
Yep. So it's all of Hamilton County, plus we have connection points to our neighboring contiguous counties as well. So we have 6 Indigo locations that we go to, Indigo bus stops that we go to. So individuals from Hamilton County can be able to access Indigo at that bus stop that we go to. We have one for Boone County as well, one for Tipton County. So really, we work really well with our neighboring counties and their public transit to be able to link folks and coordinate.
So you might have somebody from Zionsville come in as a client?
Yes.
Somebody from Brownsburg come in as a client?
Yeah, and really the most common rider for Hamilton County Express, of course, it's public, so you or I could utilize it as well. The most common rider is someone getting back and forth to their job. By far, it's 80% of our rides are people getting back and forth to work.
Sounds like you've got a lot of partners, business partners, right? You mentioned a couple of them in the building.
Yep.
And you mentioned your cafe and the government center there in Noblesville. Who are some of the bigger business partners that your clients end up going to work for?
It really depends on the person and where their sort of skill set is. So there's some manufacturing locations that are hiring. We have a gentleman who's going to be celebrating 5 years at IMMI in Westfield. We have a couple individuals.
That's a great company. I know them. Yeah, that's a great company.
There's a couple of individuals who are working at SMC in Noblesville, and then certainly there's a variety of others, so it could be even restaurants or local hotels. We currently have a hotel project that's going on where cohorts of individuals, along with a staff person for guidance, are located at the Hampton Inn in Fishers. So this group is learning all about the entry-level positions that are available in a hotel. It's an 8-week curriculum-based training in which after the 8 weeks the person receives a certificate of completion. They pretty much know front and back all of those entry-level jobs, so they can put that on their resume and be able to interview for the many hundreds, as I understand, hundreds of vacant positions in our local tourism area.
Yeah, wow.
We want to grow that to be able to include some restaurants as well, which of course employers have a lot of vacancies in that area. You talked about partners, we utilize the South Point Village location, which is in Fishers. We have about 1,200 square feet there. Of course, that was built by Real America LLC there, so we have a partnership with them. We utilize that space to kind of do some of the supplemental curriculum-based things for that hotel group, as well as connecting with Hamilton Southeastern students, and that's where our summer camps will be. So when students are not in the school system, then they'll still have a place to be able to continue to progress with their goals over the summertime. So.
Awesome. Mm-hmm. Now, how many clients do you have currently?
Yeah, I was thinking about that in my drive-in, and I think when you add our employment, when you add our art studio, our doorways program, our work experience, our cafe, all of those pieces, we're probably north of 200, about 250 individuals that we're impacting each and every day.
And how many employees do you have?
70.
70 employees.
Yeah, so we have 70, and really it's about half and half. About half of our team is dedicated for the transportation component, and the other half is really dedicated to the disability services.
Do you do when you say disability services, do you do a lot of counseling?
We really provide not counseling as far as like a master's of social work kind of counseling, but we are providing services based on each person's unique plan. So we do recreation therapy, we do some art opportunities there, of course work experience, and all of our team is trained on each individual's unique needs and their unique plans. So someone may need behavioral supports in a particular way, and our team is trained on being able to do that in the manner in which is indicated for that person.
Because my sister-in-law had Downs, what percentage of your clients would be Down syndrome?
That's a good question. I don't have the data, but my
wild guess.
Yeah, my guess would be somewhere around 20%.
What are some of the other?
Sure. So it all depends. I would say autism is probably more than half of the individuals that we support. Down syndrome is probably a common one. Cerebral palsy may be a diagnosis that also kind of occurs with individuals that we support. It's really a variety.
Wide variety.
Yep.
My dad was always big on if you can hire somebody that's handicapped to sack groceries or whatever, not only will that be a great, and we never had a handicapped person that wasn't a really good employee. And of course, the customers love it. That's fantastic. How are you guys funded?
It depends. And I'll just comment on the employment piece. So we definitely provide some business education as well. So if there is a business out there who it might be watching us or who wants to learn more, we could get a team member over there to be able to explain, here's what that process looks like.
Give us some contact information, then we'll go to funding.
Oh, sure.
Okay.
So Janus Inc.org is our website. And on there, you can do the contact us from there. You can connect with us on our Facebook. We're pretty active on our Facebook, so you can follow us there, as well as instant message. I get the instant messages along with one other team member to be able to respond to. So those are two ways, aside from maybe just a specific.
What about phone number?
Okay. I'm gonna have to Google.
Wait a minute,
that.
I got your card right here. I got your card right here. 773 something or other.
Yeah.
773.
8781 maybe.
8781.
Okay.
Yes, yes. Okay, so now let's talk about funding, because we only got a few minutes left.
Sure. So we, for disability services, it's generally the Medicaid waiver, which could be the family support waiver or the community integration rehabilitation waiver. So that's the bulk of the minority is individuals or families that prefer to pay privately, which could be one, they've exhausted their state allocated budget, or two, they don't want to utilize Medicaid waiver, they don't want to sign up for Medicaid, so they may just select to privately pay. In that case, we charge the exact same rate of what the Medicaid rate is. So that's the bulk of disability. For transportation, that's a little bit different. Like I said, we just switched over to urban. So now we're in a process where we have a revenue per hour cost that then is invoiced to the county, in which the county then passes through.
Is this going to be more difficult than the rural, or is it too early to tell?
It's
just different. Okay.
Yeah, and I think it's just that learning curve for us and those other counties I mentioned.
Did you do any fundraisers?
We do. We have two main fundraisers. Thank you.
Tell us about that.
So one is in March, which had just happened a few weeks ago. That's our annual breakfast, our Create, Connect, Commit breakfast. So this is an amazing one where you get to be able to see the Janus Choir. You get to hear updates, and this is where we unveil the video of a family member, or a family rather, for that particular year. So this year was Colin. You can see all of that on our website. It's nice to be able to dive deeply into one family's experience and how services and supports can really be life-changing for somebody. And then our second one, we just started this a few years ago, so this is our third year for Helping Lives Bloom in June, so that's coming up June 15th. Again, that's another fundraiser. We do that in partnership with the For the Love of Janus Guild, where there's silent auctions to be able to do, and it's more of a laid back type of atmosphere. So it's after hours, there's a wine pool, and that's located at the Mustard Seed Gardens in Noblesville. The breakfast that I mentioned earlier is at the 502 Event Center in Carmel. And of course, we pepper some things throughout the year. So we had an open house in January for our renovated art studio. We have an open house coming up next month, which is May 16th. We had received a grant from Indiana Arts Commission to be able to do a photography session. And so there will be 100 photos from the lens of people with disabilities on display and for sale, whereby people at the individuals that Janus supports have decorated the frames, created the frames from scratch, as well as all of their photos will be
I've been to Janus and had the tour, and I've seen some of the stuff the folks do, and it's amazing stuff. Just the artwork, the work on with the businesses and putting the stuff together, just amazing stuff. Janus Developmental in Noblesville. Yolanda Kincaid, thanks for coming.
Thank you, Dan.
Next week, another important local charity, Christine Timberlake, with Rocksteady Boxing, stopping the spread of Parkinson's disease. Wonderful story about an organization that started off very small here and has grown worldwide. You got to hear about it. Everybody knows somebody who's disadvantaged, or handicapped, or has Parkinson's disease. See you all next week on the Indy's Trusted Servant Show on InspireSmall.biz.